Greg sucks. So,
okay, fine.
Does it sound
5 minutes 46 started the entire podcast over.
All right, that's 6.
Every time we mess up, we have to do it from the beginning.
5, 4, 3. Welcome, everyone. We are Never Free to Play, where we talk all about games we wish we were playing. And if you're lucky, it's something we've actually played this week. I'm Karch.
And I'm Jason.
And if you keep listening, tell your friends and subscribe to all of our stuff. Maybe we'll play some more games. So, who are we? Well, we are 30-year-old dads who have full-time jobs and full-time additional jobs and wives and families, and we don't have any time to play video games. But
no, we do not.
No, we don't. And our favorite thing to do is what, Jason?
Not play video games.
Exactly. That's
Talk about playing video games.
Talk about play video games. And we listen to all kinds of podcasts. We listen to all kinds of people talk about video games who do that for a living, who have been fortunate enough to make their entire lives, their livings, their everyday lives about playing video games. But, you know, nobody out there, they're not speaking for our kind, our people who sit at home wishing, hoping, and waiting, buying a game, watching it sit on their backlog, buying another game, watching that one sit on their backlog until they've got 200 games in their Steam library, and they still haven't played even 10% of them.
I feel that every day. And let me guarantee you this. Nobody is going to respect your time and wallet more than us, because we do not do this for a living.
No, and we're making zero money, and unless you change something about that, we're going to continue to make zero money for a very, very long time.
I think you're right about that.
Yep. No, it's 100%. You can find us at neverfreetoplay.com as well as patreon.com/neverfreetoplay. We are on all the social media as, you guessed it, Never Free to Play. We've even got a Twitch, but we'll probably never stream. Now that we've begged enough for your money, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of news. There hasn't been much lately, and what has been around has been pretty depressing. So what we're going to do is start with what we're most excited for about 2020, since 2020 is a big year. We've got new consoles coming out. We've got a lot of really high-profile games that have been promised for a long time now. They're finally going to be coming here with Cyberpunk 2077 and Last of Us Part 2, both games I have absolutely no interest in playing, but I know Jason
That's okay.
does.
I'll play them for you.
Exactly. So, Jason, what are you excited about for 2020?
Okay, so the thing I'm personally most excited about for 2020 is the arrival of the streaming future. So we've heard about this a lot. We've been tempted by a lot of these companies who have kind of dipped their toe into the water. But I think 2020 is the year that all of this is finally going to hit. Xbox most notably is launching xCloud. They're taking it out of beta. They've announced that Game Pass games are coming to xCloud in 2020. So me personally, I have a Nintendo Switch, I have a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I also have a PC and a laptop. And the more mobile my gaming can be, the more time I'll have to dedicate to it. Because like you said, we're 30-year-old dads, we have jobs. It's really hard to find the time to dedicate to sit on the couch and just sit there and watch the TV and seclude yourself from everybody. It's a lot easier if you can just take it on the go. And if you get 20 minutes to play, open it up and go. So that's what I'm most excited about for 2020.
Which one are you most excited about? Do you want GeForce? Do you want the Xbox One?
So in terms of the monetization strategy, I'm most interested in GeForce Now, because as I understand it, you can link your other profiles to GeForce Now. So say you can log in with your Steam, and then any of your Steam library that is compatible with GeForce Now, you can stream it from any device, supposedly. In terms of what I think is actually going to be the best is probably going to be xCloud. I think Xbox has the best pitch and they're making the most consumer-friendly moves. So I think xCloud is probably going to be the winner, just in the variety of ways that you can play and what games are there. But I hope that GeForce Now is also a thing, because I really would love to be able to just continue to buy everything on Steam and then be able to play it anywhere.
That does sound really appealing, and I've been meaning to try out their free version. I know it's pretty bare bones, but it's also, what is it, like an hour or so a day, or a couple hours a day, or?
I think so. I think it's like 2 hours a day you can do for free or something like that. So streaming is the thing that I'm personally most excited about for 2020. But what about you, Karch?
Let's see. I don't like streaming. I mean, I like it. Who doesn't want to play a game from anywhere on anything? But it hasn't worked yet, and I don't feel like paying for another thing. So I'll believe it when I see it. But we still have 2 huge consoles coming out this year, specifically PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, whatever that ends up actually being. I know they just dropped a few extra details, but they're still pretty vague. Just things like, ooh, we've got 12 teraflops, whatever the heck that means. And I know PlayStation 5 hasn't been forthcoming with any of their stuff either, but I don't know. I love it. It's Christmas. It's my youth. It's the giddiness of a new toy that I'm going to actually have money for the first time in 2 console launches to buy on day one. If I feel like it, I probably won't. But
You're going to buy both consoles?
I'm going to buy what?
You're going to buy both consoles?
No, not both consoles. Definitely only the PlayStation 5. If I buy either of them before the end of the year. Just depends on what they're offering and what kind of stuff, and if I can get a good deal on trading in my PS4 and just how backwards compatible. That's a huge thing. I am excited about backwards compatibility. I know Xbox. Again, I don't have a huge history there or a lot of love for their back catalog, but it is big enough at this point that getting one would be really cool just for that alone.
Sure.
Finding used games that I could pop in on the disc or whatever they offer on their store that you can download from OG Xbox 360, etc. Because I completely skipped the Xbox One except for just a couple games on Game Pass, which is really awesome. But if PS5 is backwards compatible completely with PS4 and then somehow they work PS3 into, which I was unable to play and had to skip entirely, that would be really cool.
Yeah, but, no, I totally agree, but I don't see Sony being able to get their stuff together enough to actually have PS3 backwards compatibility. I mean, the fact that they haven't brought a lot of the PlayStation 1 classics to PS4,
which makes no sense.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. And that's why it doesn't give me a lot of hope that they'll go much further back than PS4. And I feel like that's just so that they can say they did it because Xbox has done it. Like, I don't really feel like they're super interested in doing it for the sake of doing it. They're just doing it to remain competitive. But I'm with you there. Like, I think the only way I'll buy a PS5 day one is if there are good trade-in deals for the PS4 Pro. Otherwise, there's really not a compelling reason because I don't think there's going to be any PS5 exclusives at launch that are going to make me want to buy it. I mean, you've got Last of Us Part 2 coming out this spring and then Ghost of Tsushima later in the year. Like, I don't know what other one of their developers would be ready to go at launch except for maybe Horizon 2.
That's what I'm crossing my fingers for.
Yeah. But even then, I could potentially see that one being cross-generational just because you want to have that bigger install base. So I guess it's just going to depend for me.
Yeah, and it's not clear. It's clear on Xbox side. They said that they're going to have all their games are going to be compatible or can be played on the Xbox One and Xbox Series X going for at least a year or so, or the launch window, whatever that means exactly. And while Sony hasn't said anything specifically, it's very possible they might be following a similar stance, and a lot of third parties might be as well. I mean, someone's going to come out, sooner rather than later, and they're going to be like, well, we just didn't make it for the PS4. It's only going to run on PS5, and that's whatever. But I even if Horizon is a launch game, I just don't see it being a PS5 exclusive.
No, me neither. And that's the other thing is I think the first one to break that trend that you're talking about of not being cross-generational, it's probably going to be a third party, at which point I could play it on my PC. I mean, that's where I play most of my third-party games. Consoles to me are just exclusive machines.
Yeah. I mean, consoles is just one of it, but more than the consoles is just the games. I've got Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming up in April, and I wanted to hate it. I wanted to say it was stupid. I didn't care for the 4 years since they announced it, maybe even longer at this point. I honestly don't remember when it was first announced, but the more and more I see of it, and after having played 7 again when it came to Switch last year, I cannot wait. And I cannot wait to be really disappointed when it's not the full game. I have to wait another year, 2 or 3 to get the second part of who knows how many parts. So that's something I'm excited for, but something I'm dreading at the same time. And then finally, Silksong, the sequel to the greatest game of all time, Hollow Knight, whether you admit it or not.
I will never admit it. I'm sorry. I'm not a Metroidvania guy. I don't think I ever will be.
Well, you should be, and you should be ashamed of yourself. So
I am. I cry at night.
Every night.
Every night.
About all every the Hollow Knight I never played.
Every night that I don't play games, I just cry instead.
That's why I make myself play something every night. So
you're a better man than me.
I'm a better man than you. I'm a better gamer. I'm a pro gamer, everybody. If you didn't know, and I'm going to be saying it a lot, I'm a pro gamer. Jason's a bad gamer.
Oh, I'm so
My
bad.
wife's a bad gamer. My 6-year-old daughter is a terrible gamer. I won Mario Party earlier today, both against my wife and her in separate occasions.
Oh, you should be really proud of yourself for that.
I am absolutely proud of myself. First as Wario, then as Shy Guy. I can play all the characters. Every single one of them.
Legitimate question.
Even Monty Mole.
Is there any difference?
Mario Party.
Is there any difference between the characters?
Absolutely not, except for how annoying they are, because nobody isn't annoying. They're all a little bit annoying. And then you play one character like Daisy, who sounds like an insane person's idea of what an energetic woman would be. Funnily enough, Wario is one of the best because of the noises he makes and the dance he does when he wins his mini games. But obviously, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole right now.
Sure.
Here's something I'm hopeful about for 2020. I want Nintendo to take its head out of its butt. I want that groundhog to come out of its hole and not see its shadow, because I'm tired of how amazing the Switch is and how amazing they've handled it for the most part, followed up with all these ridiculous decisions, specifically or mostly surrounding anything that has anything to do with online.
Right.
Nintendo Switch Online is a very poor service. It's very cheap, and that's why I have no problem paying for it. I do like cloud saves. It's silly that I can't make manual backups, but I also would never make a manual backup, so I don't have a huge complaint there. I like the idea of their catalog for NES games and Super Nintendo games being all part of that service. That's fine, but it's way too small, and they never update it. Like sure. I have fewer games on. Well, I don't know about fewer, but less good games on the service than I do on my Nintendo Switch Mini Classic thing, which is awesome. But it's hooked to a TV, and it's not on my Switch, which I play like 99% of the time on a handheld. And I want to play Final Fantasy VI on it as part of the JRPG-a-thon I'm doing this year, but I can't. And so I have to find other ways to do it. And it's just constant irritation. It's always, wow, that was great, but you missed this, this, and that. Where are all your old games, Nintendo? Why can't I play Nintendo 64 games on anything? Like, I mean, I guess you could play them on the Wii U, but nobody has a Wii U. I'm not doing that. That's not happening.
Right.
Where do I play my GameCube games? Well, my Wii broke, which was previously, emulating them, and so I can't do that anymore. And they just need to ramp it up. Like we're almost in year 3, right?
I think so. I think it came out in 2017.
It did. So this will be the third. This will be the fourth anniversary. We're going into the 4th year of the Switch, and we still have so little compared to what we could have had. We have a lot, and it's really good. But when they decided to make a hybrid, I was really hoping that they were going to ramp up production on first-party IP or second-party IP in titles, because their studios from the 3DS are going to be like kind of folded into the console development game space. But that doesn't seem to have happened. We're really just getting these like the first year was great. Of course, it launched with a game that had been in development for the Wii U, so it doesn't really count per se.
Right.
Great as Breath of the Wild was, but then they had Mario and Zelda in the same year. That's amazing. Then what do they have next year? Smash. Smash was great, but right?
Yeah, they had Smash. I cannot remember if Rabbids was year 2. That was Ubisoft.
Rabbids was a great game. That was actually in between. That was in between Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and it was a nice little holdover title. But it was Ubisoft, and as good as it was, it wasn't something we were expecting, and that can be really fun sometimes. But you want it doesn't replace what you were expecting. You're still expecting a certain amount of things like Metroid Prime 4, which you understand is delayed for the good reason of it having sucked, and then Retro stepping back in to take over from whoever had it before and was doing a terrible job with it. But I mean, last year we had Pokemon, which is I don't want to talk about Pokemon because Pokemon makes me sad and depressed. This year we've got Animal Crossing and crickets. That's what we got. We got crickets. Like, I don't know what they've got planned for later.
Sure.
It's really unlikely to be Breath of the Wild 2, as crazy as that would be. But
I mean, maybe they could get it out, since they're probably using the same engine and everything, and it'll be like Breath of the Wild was the tick, and this would be the talk, like Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time. But it's unlikely, like you said, and it'll be interesting to see what they do, given that they're on a totally different cycle than Sony and Microsoft. What are they going to do with their software offerings, given it's a launch year for those other consoles? Mm-hmm. But like you said, too many of their previous offerings, their older things, they're stranded on that old hardware, and there's just like no way to get to it. It's not like they're benefiting from withholding it. There's nothing else they can force us into buying other than like these minis consoles that they're releasing. But what do they just have two, right? They have the
yeah, exactly. They have the NES and the SNES with no signs or plans to do any more. So they're not doing anything physically like they were. So you don't even have that anymore. Right. They're just kind of dead in the water with. They stop it. They just keep doing this. They start over at the NES. They tiptoe and drip feed you everything, mostly including it up through the SNES catalog, and then it's nothing again. And then it's just like, why do we have to keep starting over? It drives me nuts.
Oh, I agree. And I mean, I think they've shown they could get these games to work on newer hardware, so I don't think it's a limitation there.
Oh, I refuse to believe it's I refuse to believe it's a technological limitation. I just like there has to be a way. Maybe it's a quality thing, like they don't like how it turns out, but like you could do it pretty well. Even if it's not perfect, you could do it pretty well, and I'd be okay. I'd be okay with paying what amounts to, I don't know, what is it? Not even $2 a month,
right?
I'd be okay with paying for a legitimate emulation of games I've previously not been able to do that for $2 a month, because I'm already paying $2 a month. So.
No, exactly. I mean, and the thing is it's clear, I think, at this point that they have no intention of bringing back Virtual Console and selling these piecemeal. So they really need to do something to make Nintendo Switch Online more appealing than just like, you can kind of play with each other. If you want to enter a friend code, if you want to go through the hassle, you can play some of these old games, but most of them maybe you've never even heard of, and they're not like the best. It's not in a great state right now.
Nintendo, you suck.
Yep.
Get your act together.
And just to kind of dogpile on, I can't believe they don't have voice chat figured out yet, because other developers are able to do it on the Switch. I remember
they've got it figured out. They just willfully went in a completely different direction and insist that you use this ridiculous app in the name they say in the name of, like protecting the kids and child-friendly, family-friendly environments. But like, I really just don't understand how that even really plays in.
I mean, if you really cared about that, then why allow voice chat in games like Fortnite, where they've figured it out? I want to say potentially Rocket League and Warframe have their own.
Nobody says no to Epic. Nobody
built-in
says
yeah.
Just don't do that.
But I mean, you're right. Not even Sony, but
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, we can move on from that.
We can, because no one wants to sit here and listen to us talk about how crappy Nintendo is for 30 more minutes.
They might.
If
you guys want to hear us talk about how crappy Nintendo is, even though we're huge Nintendo fans, email us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com and you tell us.
That was a nice plug, Jason. Very nice. All right, last bit of news. I think it was today, but it could have been yesterday. I don't know. I haven't been surfing my main source of news lately, which is the good old game subreddit over at reddit.com. But there was an update from the UI standpoint for Diablo IV, and it was as boring as it sounds, and there was nothing new to garner from there, so that was disappointing. And
Thanks for letting us know.
Of course, yes. No, it's just basically they're going to stick with the key points. Was they're continuing that kind of really like washed out gothic-y look that you saw in the trailer from BlizzCon so many months ago, which wasn't surprising. They showed off what inventory would look like, and they're going to kind of keep it like it was in D3 instead of doing the Tetris thing that Path of Exile continued, where your two-handers were huge weapons that took up a huge amount of space in your inventory. They're going to keep doing that whole like single or two block thing, so you're not playing an inventory management game. At which point it's just like, why do you have an inventory? I don't mind not having an inventory, but if
you can make it weight based.
Say again?
You can make it weight based, kind of like
but that's even dumber, in my opinion. That's even dumber. But like, I don't know. I don't mind an inventory. I don't mind not an inventory, but it seems like they're just kind of leaning towards like, I'm worried that they're going to design themselves out of a loot-based game somehow by accident. Like they're gonna be like, we found out it was kind of annoying having loot, so we just got rid of it. And then like the UI that you've seen, so I know it's a work in progress, but it's a really I don't like transparency. A work in software, I don't like it. I don't like letting the client see anything I absolutely do not have to tell them. I don't like telling people inside the company anything I don't have to tell them, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to sell it when they shouldn't. They're going to try to tell the client about it when they shouldn't. Somebody's going to get a premature opinion about something that they have no idea about.
Which is exactly what we're doing right now.
Exactly. Look what's happening. It's running rampant. I don't like leaks. Leaks ruin everything. This isn't the government. We don't need to know everything that's going on. I'm not paying this company to just exist. So if they want to be secretive and they want to wait to reveal something, go ahead and let them. It's fine.
Yeah. Come to me when you have something good.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm of two minds on it. Sometimes I do like it, but
I gobble them up because I can't help it. But I wish they weren't there. I don't want to have to just be and then it leads to the rumor mill. It's like, is that true? Is that not true? And
but some things are unavoidable. Like I do appreciate the transparency from CD Projekt Red on when they had to delay Cyberpunk. They were like, "Hey guys, we just need a little more time to get this right."
Of course, there's good transparency and there's bad transparency, and I think you can't go. People they clamor for it. They're like, "We need more." I'm like, "You don't really want more." I mean, some people clearly do. Some people want that, but a lot of people don't. But then they just see it, and then they have an opinion on it. Again, exactly what's happening right now. But I couldn't be less excited for Diablo IV. It's kind of what I was getting to. Because I'm not even
because you keep playing Path of Exile.
See, I'm not even willing to play Path of Exile. I haven't played that in months, and I'll play it again soon. And then again, as the beta for Path of Exile 2 starts, all that fanfare and hype gets rolling, I'll be on that train. But I only ever come back to it every few months for just a couple weeks or so, and then I bounce. And that's kind of how I played D3 too. And I don't know. I'm just, again, I just couldn't be less excited for something that, 5 years ago I was really hungry for, I guess is the best way to put it.
Sure. I mean, I think at this point I'd probably be more excited for an HD remake of Diablo 2.
Oh, I absolutely am. Give that to me now and inject it into my veins because, Mwah. All right. And then the last bit of news, the coronavirus is just ruining everybody's lives, both literally. I'm sorry for everybody who's having to go through being actually sick and quarantined and on lockdown. But in addition to that, it's ruining businesses and it's ruining entertainment, as just about every major player who is planning on attending GDC is pulling out of GDC. And I don't know what that actually means. I don't know if GDC is going to just like collapse because there's nobody literally attending, or if it's going to be some weird thing where everything that was planned will still mostly go through because it was all like digital or streamed kind of content. They can just do it remotely. But I mean, it is a conference. It's a place that people go to, which is why they're pulling out of it. So like, I don't know. This is, as far as I know, this is fairly unprecedented. So
where is GDC actually taking place? Is that the one in Boston or is that
Gamescom is the one in Germany, so I don't know where GDC is actually. I don't know.
It's just us showing off our outsiderness.
Oh yeah, we're dumb, and we only know the things that have been drilled into our brains via gigantic amounts of repetition.
It's in San Francisco in March, is what it looks like.
That's really soon.
Yeah, Yeah. So that's what's kind of interesting because, I mean, the U.S. has only had like 20 cases of it, of coronavirus. So I don't really understand. Like I could understand more of this conference we're in like Japan or China or something like that, which I don't get why you wouldn't go to San Francisco. I guess it's the travel,
man. It's dangerous, and there's people coming from literally every corner of the world, and who knows where they have to go through to get to San Francisco from that corner. And no, it makes total sense.
U.S. based employees that could cover.
Yeah, you'd think, but then I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate on health safety for travel and attending conferences or not attending conferences.
Sure. Well, I mean, I know like my companies, they've basically, I can't remember if we banned or it was just non-essential travel to China and Japan and Iran. But I got an email this morning that was like, yeah, we're not sending anybody there right now. So I mean, I get it. I get it. It's just a precaution. You don't want to make things worse by sending people through to, like you said, different places, picking up different germs, that sort of thing.
Don't sneeze on us, people. Don't sneeze on each other. Sneeze into the arm. That's where you're supposed to sneeze.
Right now, I'm safely in my closet, so I think I'm okay. I think I'm safe from the coronavirus. The rest of my family might be dead when I leave this closet, but I think I'm okay.
Sounds like a great start to a thriller action movie.
Right? A guy podcasting in his closet.
And he podcasts his way through the through the plague.
And then when he leaves, he's the last man on Earth. It's just the two guys that were podcasting. That's it.
They have to find each other too.
Ooh, yeah.
So now it's a romantic comedy. It was a horror kind of thriller thing, but now it's a romantic comedy.
It would be like a bromantic comedy.
Romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I like it. We'll get started on that.
All right, somebody write that script.
All right. That will do it for news and hopeful 2020 outcomes. We will move into the ironic section of the podcast. What have you been playing, Jason?
Okay. It's more like, what have I quit? But I will say that I just want to let everybody know that I did complete one game in 2020 so far. So I'm very proud of myself for that. I beat the Outer Worlds toward the end of January, and I really, really enjoyed that game. For anybody who hasn't played it, I think most people know what it is, but it's very much what Fallout 4 should have been, in my opinion. Maybe on a little bit of a smaller scale, but I didn't mind that because I personally get lost in an open world, and I get open world fatigue. But these were these kind of like sectioned off planets that had focused missions that you would do per planet, and it was really easy. I mean, you could go off and explore, and there were. I would say that the open world wasn't as vast and as explorable as something like Fallout 4 or Skyrim even, but I liked the focus of it, and I liked the length of it. I think I beat it in about 16 to 20 hours, somewhere in that range. And I really, really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people were kind of like, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted Fallout New Vegas, basically, and this wasn't it. But for me, I never played Fallout New Vegas. I really, really enjoyed the Outer Worlds. I did play Fallout 4. That is a game that I quit back when it came out in 2015. I got honestly about 22 hours into it, and I couldn't make myself go on anymore.
It was a very familiar sounding opinion. I remember when it came out that was like, I have 20 hours. I couldn't care less anymore. I'm gone. Out.
Did you ever play that game?
No, I can't stand Fallout.
Oh, get out of here. But you beat the Outer Worlds.
Because it's a much better version of Fallout for all the reasons you said. It's a much smaller experience, and I like the space angle, which I usually don't care for. I don't like Mass Effect very much because I just don't.
Don't you like Star Wars?
I don't anymore. And we can talk about that on a totally different podcast.
This is the year you stopped liking Star Wars. You've liked
Force Awakens and The Mandalorian are both pathetic attempts to try and I can't talk about that right now. It's totally
okay. Let's not talk about it. Let's not.
No, I played the Outer Worlds too. We started about the same time at the end of 2019, and I finished it a little sooner, not much sooner, but just a little sooner. And it was great. Yeah. Pretty much all the things that Jason said. I played a psychopath, which is not my typical way to go through those games. I'm usually goody two shoes or pretty neutral because I try to be nuanced, and then the game doesn't actually let you be nuanced. So I end up just being this kind of boring, never commits to anything. But this time I committed, and it let me commit, and I really appreciated that. There's not a single person that I found that I could kill that where you had to like restart or you were locked out of anything. There was always a different way around to get to something. Like a lot of the times in a game, you're met with a person, and you have to just go through a huge list of tasks. It's this giant quest chain. You meet a bunch of people, you talk to them, they finally give you the thing you want, or you can blow them up right then and there, and the rest of the town with it, because then they're going to come after you and just pull the key card right off his body and move on to the next beat. And that was really fun. And like I said, it was really short, and that's what made it so much easier. It was the first game I played on Games Pass, which was just a huge novel thing. Like, oh man, I dropped $1 on this promotional period, and I just got a $60 game and beat it in a few weeks, and that was awesome.
Game Pass has been amazing, yeah. And just to kind of go back to what you said, so it's kind of interesting the range of ways you could play the Outer Worlds. But like, I know you played it, I played it. My brother Greg, who was the worst, also played it, and we all played it 3 different ways and got 3 different endings. And I think you and I probably played it the most polar opposite, because you, like you said, you were this agent of entropy, as you stated when we talked about it earlier this year, and you were just like chaos, like I am going to destroy everything. And I played it very much like smooth talker. I tried to be as nonviolent as possible just to see what could I talk my way out of, which was really, really interesting. I've never played a game like that before. I'm usually go in guns blazing, like that's how I want to play.
Right.
But this game just allowed me to play in this way that let me become this character, and it was really immersive. And I just, like you said, I really appreciated the flexibility that they gave you with it. It was really a fun ride.
Yeah, great game. I can't wait to see the sequel.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's when I played. I quit Luigi's Mansion 3 last night. I got to the 8th floor. I got to the 8th floor, which means I'm probably about 8 hours in. This is just not, even for Nintendo fans, if you're not a Luigi's Mansion fan, I don't know that I would recommend this game, because it just gets boring and repetitive. And I found myself fighting with the mechanics more than I was playing the game. And just to give you an example, Karch, tell me about the curtain you were trying to snag that you just couldn't get.
So I don't know. It's one of the first things you do in that floor. It's actually, I think it's like the basement somewhere. It's all very heavily themed around water and pipes and the sewers and stuff. And I must have walked by it like a gazillion times, because every other time there's been a sheet that you're supposed to pull, it's been obvious. And after, in Luigi's Mansion, every puzzle is solved with that vacuum or your flashlight. It's not difficult. And so you start walking around and sucking everything up. And whenever that doesn't work, you walk around and you start blowing everything. And I don't know, maybe I was blind, but I didn't spend nearly as much time on any other puzzle or, roadblock in that game as I did on this one. 20 minutes just to find a sheet covering a piece of pipe. And I had to look it up. I don't know what that's about, but like
I had the same exact thing happen to me last night on the 7th floor. This is not really a spoiler or anything, but there's this, you go into a bathroom and there's these knotted vines that you have to suck up, and you pull them, and that's how you like get the plant to go away so you can proceed to the next
I did like
area or whatever. And I'm in this bathroom. I found 2 of them. It's really obvious where those 2 are. I see a third one. It's in the middle of a toilet. It looked terrible. Like it looked like Nintendo 64, like the knot was just stuck kind of in the toilet, and I'm sucking it up. I'm going around. I'm doing every move in my bag. I'm doing my flashlight. I cannot figure out how to get this stupid knot. So I looked it up, and it's actually kind of funny because I don't remember the exact YouTuber that I looked up, but one of the guides, he had the same exact problem. Then finally, he tried this random, and by the way, in this game, there's trash scattered everywhere all the time, and you can suck it up. Sometimes there's coins, sometimes there's just trash.
Yeah, this is not a healthy game for people who can't just let things go and need to just kind of like turn every, rock over. It is not going to be good for you.
No. So there's this trash can in the middle of the bathroom that's just kind of there. What you're supposed to do is like shoot a plunger at it, suck up the rope plunger, and then swing that at the toilet to break it. Then you can get to the plant knot. But it was just like, the it wasn't even clever. It was just, I think, really poor design. And then, like I said, I just find myself fighting with the mechanics more than I am enjoying the game, which is what made me just quit. And I quit games all the time. I'm probably the worst about that.
He's
But
seeking help, everybody. Don't worry. We're going to get him through this, and he's going to start beating more games.
This is my therapy session, is this podcast. So that's when I quit. And if you think I should keep going, I'm on the 8th floor, and Jason, this is worth finishing, email us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com, and you tell me why. And if you can convince me, I will do it.
It's not going to work, because if I can't convince him, you can't. But please,
you quit this
anyway.
game too.
I did. I quit it before you quit it. That's how bad it was. No, it's not a bad game. It's a really good game. It's really cute. It's one of the best looking Switch games made by Nintendo so far. It just wore out its welcome. That's all.
Yep. I mean, it's charming for sure.
I got a little further than you did. I played it back pretty much when we got excited. We went in on it together. We bought it, and then I was the only one who played it immediately. Yep. Anyway, it was Halloween time. It was the time to play it. But I don't know. I think I got, like I said, I just got maybe like 1 or 2 floors further than you, and I was like, that was fun. I'm done. I'm going to move on to the next thing. Or the holidays kicked in. Who knows? Family obligations. But I put it down, and I just never picked it up, and I probably never will. No. For what it's worth, it was my first Luigi's Mansion. I've always wanted to play the GameCube one because I hear a lot of people say that one's the best one because the 3DS one loses a lot of stuff, but I haven't played that one either, so I wouldn't know.
Same. This is my first one. Just not for me. All right, Karch, what have you been playing?
Oh, I've been playing a lot, which is kind of counterintuitive to the name and theme of this podcast, but, trying to make some time.
Sure.
Especially in the evening. My system of choice is 100% the Switch, so if I can play it there, I always will, and I will always look there to play something first, but I've actually been playing on my PC a lot lately. In the middle of playing Doom from 2016.
That's a good one.
Bethesda's Doom, and it is. I don't like shooters. I'm not a big fan, especially first-person shooters. Third person, they're okay. First person, can't stand the perspective. It just bugs me. I don't get it, and I don't do well in it. But me and Doom, we're clicking, and I want to say I've almost beat it, but I've been saying that for like 2 weeks, and not because I'm not getting around to it, but because every time I sit down, I get to another mission, and I'm like, oh, surely this is the nope. Oh, I've gotten through hell. Surely this next nope. Now I'm at this tower where the villain's, that's where her lab was, and there's this rock thing, and I just found it. So I really do think I'm about to beat it.
I hope you're right.
No, it's just it's frenetic, visceral fun. It is not something I'm able to play during the day. Almost even not at night, in case my daughter wakes up and walks over and sees me, bashing heads from demons in and ripping out their guts and sticking explosives in their mouths and watching them pop like pimples. And it's so good. And the weapons are so good. And I played the original Doom. It's one of the few like kind of old school PC style like shooters that I played. I think I played it on like a PlayStation or something, my grandma's. But it's funny how long it's been since I played that, how few games I play like it, but then how quickly it comes back to me. They've captured Doom so well.
Sure.
So well. So many years removed, a company removed, because it isn't nearly the same as, I don't even know, who developed the original one? Was it id?
I'm not sure.
What'd you say?
I'm not sure. I'm looking it up.
Gotcha. All right. So whoever developed before, whoever developed now, I know it developed it with Bethesda Publishing, but it's just a really good game, and like I said, it captures the history and the feel, and you get it. They get it. You get it when you play it, and it's really fun. It's really hard. It doesn't play like a lot of other shooters. Again, these are all old opinions. None of this is new or inspired. Sure. But I mean, if you've got me, and you've got me wanting to finish it, and you've got me wanting to play the sequel, which comes out in like less than a month, you're doing something right, because I don't ever want to play games like Doom.
Yeah. Oh, I played it. Maybe like 4 hours in. I got stuck at this one level, but I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's very fun to play, and it's one that just begs you to just, as soon as you get into the game, it's like go.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate how light the narrative parts of that game are, because I just don't think you really want something narrative heavy in a game like this. And so it's kind of nice to just be able to ignore the story and just focus on slaying demons. So
no, man, the Doom guy, he ignores the story too. It's great. People are talking to you. You've got holograms, you've got AI robots, and they're like blah 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 hell energy, and you're just breaking stuff, and they're like, what are you doing? And you're not talking back. You just keep on breaking stuff, and they just have to roll with it. They're like, well, I'm not there, and you're doing that, so I guess this is what's happening now.
Right.
And I love it. It's really good.
I dig it. I really do.
So
that's one I might go back to.
You should. I would highly recommend that.
If I can get past that one level, though.
Yeah, you just got to keep running and jumping, man. Run around, jump on.
I can't find where I'm supposed to
go. Every time I get lost or confused in that game, I look up. There's the answer. It's because I just need to jump up onto some stupid ledge.
No, that's not this. Because I was like, at one point, I think I was like 25 minutes into a walkthrough for this particular level, and I just couldn't figure it out, man. That's my one complaint, is that the map is terrible.
It's not a great map.
But other than that, if I could ever get past this level, the thing is I've cleared all the enemies from everything, so I can't figure out where to go, and there's no one to kill, so I'm just walking around this empty level, and I cannot figure out where to go. And it doesn't matter. I mean, here's what we need to do. We need to do the Dixper streaming session, and you need to help me beat that level.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Because I'm a pro gamer. Ladies and gentlemen.
You are.
Pro gamer.
You really, really are.
Professional, amateur pro gamer, but still pro gamer. You might have seen me on nothing.
Right. Except for this podcast.
So in addition to a really good game like Doom, I've been playing some really bad games like JRPGs.
They are bad games.
And I don't know what kind of audience we're going to cultivate, but I don't care, because I'm still going to keep talking about them JRPGs, because that's my lifeblood right there. That's my comfort food, my chicken soup from my soul. And so
not for me.
One Colin Moriarty of Sacred Symbols is doing something stupid, in which he's going to play a JRPG every month. And he's failing spectacularly, because he started with Dragon Quest XI, and we're almost at the end of February, and I don't think he's finished it yet. But I did not do that. I went a much smarter route, and I started with much more manageable titles. And in January, I played Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch on my Switch for the very first time. And I'm not going to get into that a lot, because that was, early January. And at this point, I barely remember anything about it, but it was actually kind of disappointing. I'd heard a lot of good things about that. Again, the PS3 360 era was a time in which I had zero money, and so I was playing games on my 3DS and emulating stuff on my computer, because I couldn't afford anything else. So I missed that when it launched on PS3, and I just probably never picked it up when it came to PC. But it's cute, it's fun, it's too long. The combat is clever and not well done. Like, it's this quasi Pokemon action RPG kind of thing, where you still get into not random encounters, but you get into a separate encounter like you do in most games. And then you fight with familiars, but you're still just mashing a button, except you're not allowed to mash the button. It's this whole thing. And if you've played it before, you know what I'm talking about it. And the aesthetic and the cuteness, as great as it is, isn't enough to really carry the game past a certain point. And that's, I don't know, about 3/4 or halfway through, I just kind of got bored. And the themes, they don't really follow all the way through. It starts out really emotional, and then that kind of just disappears. And that was really disappointing, because there's nothing like JRPG that actually gets its story right, because when they do, they're so good, but most of the time they're just garbage. So in February, I moved on to Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, and I played that on my Vita, which
Vita lives.
Vita lives. Not really. I dug it out of its little grave I have in a box at the church.
You know what's funny about that Vita is that it was in a grave at my house, and then I sold it to you, where it went to die again.
It went to die again. I played way too many hours of Persona 4 Golden, and then refused to finish that game. And that was the last thing I played on it, probably since I picked up Tactics on it. But Tactics is amazing. I've started and stopped that game like a million times since the PSP port came out. And every time I had a great time, but I usually just hit a wall, as you kind of do in those games. got frustrated, put it down, played something else, never picked it back up because it's hard to do that. But this time I committed to doing it, made sure my characters were nice and OP as I hit the later levels, which was really useful because I don't know how you beat that game without knowing how hard it's going to be ahead of time and then having to backtrack and do a bunch of grinding. But I just wish they would make another one, and not a Tactics Advance and not some stupid spinoff, but just a straight up sequel with all the same kind of styles, because
You got Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark. What more could you want?
Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark is a fine attempt. The fine copy.
I could not.
It's ugly. I don't care for the art.
Not only is it ugly, am I just an idiot? It was really hard.
It is hard, but these games are hard, and that's fine. But
well, you know what? I beat Final Fantasy Tactics, the fake one, on the Game Boy SP, and I loved it. And
that's a good game. It's a really good game. I don't understand.
I beat that one. I beat Fire Emblem Awakening, which, I mean, and I did not have to turn the difficulty down. I think I played it on hardcore. What?
I said that Fire Emblem Awakening is a really easy game.
Go away. Get out of here.
No, I'm not going anywhere. No, but long story short, if you like Final Fantasy and you like grid-based, turn-based tactics RPGs and you've never touched that game, find a way. It's actually, funnily enough, available in a lot of places. You can get it on your phone. It's on PSP. You can find an old copy if you've got a PlayStation 1 of the original, which is really good, even without all the upgrades for the new one. It's a little rougher around the edges, if I'm not mistaken. The translation's a little goofy, but the story is so good. It's Game of Thrones meets Final Fantasy in all the best ways, but with that little extra bit of corniness that you come to love from games like that. And I will probably never play it again, having finally beat it, but it was amazing. And let's see. What else have you been playing?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I was going to actually save some... I was going to save some of mine for a question we had later.
All right, let's do that then. I will just simply mention that I played the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC. And
because you hate yourself.
Because I hate myself. I didn't care for Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm a longtime Kingdom Hearts lover. And one day we'll do a special episode where Jason just sits and cries while I talk about Kingdom Hearts and tell him about the story and the games. Just how
I thought we were going to do that in person and I was going to get really drunk.
Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, perfect.
But we'll save that for another time. Just needless to say, I didn't like 3. I thought it was a giant waste of time and really disappointing. And the DLC kind of turned that around for me in mostly mostly story ways, but the extra gameplay content they added is really great. Boss rush kind of stuff where you get to fight all the baddies from that game in a kind of like, not a gauntlet because you do them one at a time and you take breaks in between, but it's the hardest version of those bosses. And if you like, frenetic Kingdom Hearts style combat, it's the best that's probably ever been since Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, which is also really good. And let's see what else. I've been playing a lot of Super Mario Party for the first time. It's a fun game. It's a really crappy Mario Party game, but it's something that I can play with my wife and daughter, and they've been sucked on it. I came home, they had been playing it for 4 hours.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. They're still not very good. Still beat them.
They were trying to practice to beat you.
They were trying to practice, but they don't have what it takes to be an amateur pro gamer like myself. So, but I do have to wonder. I don't understand why. I don't understand why Nintendo hates Mario Party.
I don't either.
This game came out like 2 years ago, and I'm actually playing it on like the game share from Matt's profile, so I haven't paid for it. I never will, because you know how Nintendo is. Their games never go down in price, both physical or digital. And there's just no way I would ever pay $60 for this game. Because I think there's 5 boards. I haven't unlocked the 5th one. I think there's 5. There might just be 4, which is even more depressing. And they're small, and the themes are kind of generic and dumb. And stars are too cheap, and coins come too easy, and you can't screw people over quite as much as the old ones. And this is just an old guy who loves Mario Party 1 and 2 talking.
Right.
When you had to wear your hand down to the bone to play some of those mini games when you got the joystick in the palm of your hand. Those were the days. You get third-degree burns and calluses in the middle of your hand.
Man. And then you rub off the thumb pad of the joy.
It's so gross.
And then you just cut your palm up.
Yep. But it's still better than 9 and 10, which had that ridiculous... Do you ever play those?
Nope.
Okay, so you're familiar with Mario Party, obviously. 9 and 10 got rid of the idea that you could just walk around the board on your own and make your own decisions and roll your own dice. They stuck you in a car, this giant buggy, and you all moved. You took your own turn. You got a chance to roll, and then if a decision was made, you made it. But you stuck together. Everything was just this straight little line.
I don't understand that. They had to put the B team on it. It just doesn't make any sense. And then the fact that they refused to support it with DLC just kind of further goes back to our original point of how like the Nintendo Switch online thing sucks. They could have done so much more with it. And I get that Mario Party is probably one that you do want to play in person, but it's just all of it, just all the whole totality, the storefront, the eShop, the Nintendo Switch Online. I
love the eShop. I love the eShop, even as bad as it is. It's so good because there's just nothing to it. It's got like 4 suggested things. It's got a wish list. There's a couple. I'd really only add just a few things. I'd make it easier just to filter, games I'm looking for when I want to find something new and just add to my wish list. But there's really not a lot I'd add because I can't stand how big and bloated the other storefronts are, like Steam and PSN are just, like people like they like to make fun of and as the Switch eShop, but they're no better by any. I mean, yeah, you have tools, but I think it's just this facade. You think it's better because you can do more things with it. But at the same time, like discoverability is still awful.
Right.
And
that was what I was going to say. I don't like the idea of like the cream rises to the top sort of thing. Cause I just feel like what happens is it just, as these people pump out garbage and put it on the eShop, I don't know. How do you find anything?
Well, what I do is I take the entire catalog of games and I sort it by most recently released and I check it every week. And I've been doing that since I got my Switch, which was like the first month when they had no games. And so I'm one of the lucky few who doesn't have to sort through 1,500 games and 900 of which are just bad mobile ports or really weird card games or sexy mahjong and
Hey, don't rip on sexy mahjong.
I would never rip on sexy mahjong. I'm just saying I don't want to play it. That's all. But that was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, Mario Party, it's good, but it could be a million times better. I really wish they would make it a million times better.
Yeah, agreed.
Also, if you don't mind, give us some free codes so we can play your games early and review them or something.
But then we won't be outsiders.
Oh, that's true. Don't send us codes. No, we don't want your free codes.
Yeah, get your free codes. I'd never give us free codes.
I hate that. That would be the worst.
Yeah.
So that wraps up what we've been playing, folks. That was really long, a lot longer than I thought it would be. We don't normally play that much. This is kind of pent up over the last couple of months. We've been dreaming about this podcast for a long time. So expect a much shorter session, much more true to our brand, much more true to name when we find out what the other's been doing. Jason will still have quit something. He'll just have fewer things.
Yeah.
All right. So now next up, let's talk about what we wish we were playing. So this is basically games that have caught our attention in some way, whether that's everyone else getting excited about it or you just stumbled upon it in a shop and you're like, man, that's right up my alley. I want to play that. But you're not. So Jason, what do you wish you were playing?
So what I wish I was playing is Borderlands 3 because I feel like that is my game. That's like the game they made for Jason because I've always said what I want to play is like a first-person shooter, but Diablo, like Diablo 2 loot system, which and I've been saying this for a really long time. So kind of back even before Borderlands was a thing, I was like, this is what I want. I want like a shooter, modern, kind of more modern than Diablo 2, get out of the medieval, but I want like the loot aspect of it. And so I think I discovered Borderlands when it was kind of like too late to get into it because there was nobody playing it anymore and I didn't have any friends that were playing it and like I didn't really want to go through the single player by myself. I did kind of dabble in Borderlands 2 a little, but I never got past like the first main quest or whatever. But Borderlands 3, I really want to play that game. It looks amazing. Everyone has good things to say about it. But I have nobody to play it with. Karch, you won't play it with me.
I won't.
Tyler won't play it with me.
Get bent.
Greg would play it with me, but he's never awake and he's the worst. And so he won't play it with me. That's kind of what I wish I was playing. And I am dangerously close to, if I see this game like $30 or under, I'm probably going to snag it and just go through by myself.
Well, we need fodder so that you can quit something.
Right.
And there is absolutely no shadow of a doubt that you would be quitting Borderlands within the first 10 hours.
I'd probably just get to like the first boss and be like, man, too hard.
Yeah.
Kind of my MO. What about you, Karch? What do you wish you were playing?
I don't know if I wish I was playing it. I think I wish I was playing it, but I'm a longtime Pokemon fan. I am probably done with Pokemon, though. I don't think I'm ever going to play another one after Sword and Shield. It's kind of worn out its welcome after 20-something years, and I'll just go replay Gold or Silver or something if I want that fix. But Temtem is making some waves. I think it's still in early access technically. I think it came out of its its closed beta or whatever it was in, and now it's available for everybody to buy, whatever. But technically still early access. But it's an online Pokemon. Now, the more I look into it, the less, like when I wrote this down, it seemed more exciting. I watched a couple streams of it, and the monster designs, which is, easily Pokemon's greatest strength, is their monster designs, for the most part, consistently are amazing. You can have your favorite gen, and you're like, I love the original 151, whatever. That's fine, but they're usually pretty top-notch. Temtem's not so much. They're kind of bland, and the cel-shaded graphic style they've gone with makes them even more homogenous. They all look a little samey in some way.
Sure.
There's a theme, there's a style, it's just not that great. But,
yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I agree with you.
Yeah, but there's some cute ones in there, and it's got a lot of potential, because what they basically decided to do is like, we're going to make Pokemon. We love Pokemon, and we're going to make Pokemon. No one does that, and I think that's amazing that someone's finally done it and is getting some traction. I think I saw last time it had sold 500,000 units or something like that, or had been purchased, whatever that metric is that they use. Which is not bad for. It's like, it's only been out in early access form anyway for about a month. They are an indie team, even if it's a really ambitious project. I hear for the most part it's working well. Like, I don't think it's especially buggy. I'm sure there's microtransactions. I don't really know.
It's a $35 game.
Yeah, and that's fairly budget, and it's going to last you a while because it's grindy. It's even more grindy than Pokemon from what I hear, and if that's not your bag, then stay away. But I really would have liked to give it a try in a different lifetime, or rather different part of my life, or with fewer games, other games I wanted to play coming around the corner. I might have done it, but it's one of those games I'm like, why can't I play this on my Switch? And I want to, but I'll be watching it because, like I said, their initial foray, they just copied Pokemon like to a T. They've got Pokeballs in the form of these little digital cards. Obviously, they have the Pokemon in the form of the Temtems, and they've got the moves. The major difference, it seems, right now, again, this is just some surface level viewing and research, but the main difference is that all battles are 2v2, which is a pretty rare thing in Pokemon, so it adds a bit to strategy, which is kind of nice. Something that, the single player aspect of Pokemon is missing. But I'm excited to see if they're going to break away at some point. Like, a lot of people make the mistake of trying to do Pokemon without trying to copy it too much, and I think that's a mistake. Like, people are like, oh, I'm looking for a Pokemon type game, and then they recommend Persona. I'm like, Persona's nothing like Pokemon. Like,
right.
You collect a thing.
You got some teenagers running around at school,
but
and
like,
stuff.
It's just nowhere near it. And people, Ni no Kuni, the first one, has a very heavy collection. You collect these little familiars, little monsters, but that's it. You're just collecting something, and every game is collecting something. Sometimes it's not monsters, sometimes it's weapons, but you're always collecting something. So at that point, you're not copying them. And like I said, the Temtem thing, they're doing a really good job of sticking to that formula. And so for people who are mad at Pokemon, go check it out, and you might find you like Temtem a little bit better because you wanted something almost exactly like it. But we'll see. I might pick it up. I might not. But I definitely wish I was playing.
Sure. Oh, you just made me realize what I want is just like Pokemon Blue, but instead of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!
No.
Yeah, no,
How
I
would that
want
even
that.
work? How does that work?
You walk around. I just want like Yu-Gi-Oh with an overworld, basically.
So you want the Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color?
No, I
But you
want.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, that's what it had, an overworld, and you went and you fought people like in Pokemon, except they were card clubs. It was a really good
Oh,
game.
well then, sure, yeah, then that's what I want. Except for I want the overworld.
Everybody go check that out. It's really
Maybe
good.
that exists. Yeah, go buy Temtem then.
No,
Forget what I said about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Don't buy Temtem. Don't buy Temtem. Subscribe to our Patreon.
Oh yeah, do it 35 times.
Do it 35.
That would be a much better use of your money.
100%. 100%. If you subscribe to our Patreon 35 times on 35 different accounts, I'll do something for you.
He will buy Temtem. Karch will buy Temtem, and he will use our Twitch to stream it for 24 straight hours.
I'll take the day off of work. I'll say, I'm sorry, boss man. I got to go stream. I'll tell him to his face, his handsome, nice guy face, because he's great, and I think he's a great boss. But
is he listening to this podcast?
Absolutely not. No, I'm not telling anybody I do this. I'm not telling anybody anything I don't have to tell them.
Good call.
So that's what we wish we were playing. So a more seasoned, popular podcast would have these things called listeners, and they would have questions they'd be dying to ask. Mm-hmm. We don't have that yet, Jason.
No, we don't.
What are we going to do?
We're going to ask each other questions.
We're going to ask each other questions. Good questions. Really generic ones, but hopefully you kind of get to know us through them. If you're still listening, this has gone on a lot longer than I thought it would, but I'm having a good time. So
we're going to edit it down, you know?
No, not by much.
This is not by much.
This is
just take off like the first 5 minutes.
What they want to hear.
This is what the people want.
Our mothers.
They want long form. Yes.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and start with your first question?
Okay. My first question, I'm going to ask you. So I will ask you a question, and then we can both
answer. Talking too much. Let's flip this. We're going to flip this. I don't want to talk.
What do you want me to do?
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to
start fine.
With, what is your favorite genre or type of game?
Okay. So I think for me, my favorite type of game is story-driven. I think anybody who's been listening to the podcast up to this point can kind of tell that I get bored with games pretty quickly. And what I found about myself is typically once I've unlocked all the mechanics in a game, I'm like, okay, there's nothing new. Now I'm just going to pick my favorite one mechanic and beat the game with it, whatever that may be.
I understand that.
And so if there isn't an interesting story to bring me along and like make me want to finish it, then I'm just not going to. And so, I mean, that can be narrative storytelling like The Last of Us. Like that's one that I had to see how it ended, or just atmospheric storytelling like BioShock. I really loved that game and the way that it conveyed its story to the player, and how it didn't really get in the way of actually playing the game, but it still made you want, like I actually walked around to find those little tapes so that I could listen to them, so I could get all the plot points, so that I could understand what was going on. And it just really made me want to figure out and get to the bottom of what was happening. And so anything that can kind of distract me from the fact that some of the mechanics can get repetitive, and bring me along, that's kind of my favorite. It's not necessarily a specific genre, but that's what I need out of a game. What about you, Karch? Are we asking each other these questions, or are we only answering our own questions?
No, we'll flip it back and forth.
Okay, go you.
A pretty strong, similar feeling. I love game narratives. I love game stories. However, for whatever kind of form that takes, people say, "Oh, games don't have good stories." Games have great stories, but I like crappy stories, like stuff you find in anime and manga. But I have a feeling like I read between the lines. There's not a lot of text or a lot of dialogue sometimes, but I fill in what isn't there, and I get a lot out of that. But more specifically, my favorite type of game is they're RPGs.
Yeah,
all kinds of RPGs, but I have a long love affair with JRPGs. Final Fantasy is a huge touchstone for me, and lately I've been kind of not loving them so much. They've gotten very anime, more modern anime, very weeaboo, as it is sometimes described, and I can't stand that. Like some of the more ickier sides of the more recent Fire Emblems is how I would describe it. Things are too cute. Things are too. They do this weird juxtaposed thing where it's like, oh, this is a really serious thing, and then it's like, oh, you saw me naked or in a really compromising position, and now there's blood shooting out of my nose, and like, I don't know, I've seen that a million times, and so it's just like, it's a trope.
Why is there blood shooting out of their nose?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's just, it could be the blood pressure just skyrocketing because of the excitement of seeing scantily clad. I don't know, but it's just a common thing where perverts in anime and manga, when they get aroused, especially older perverts, blood shoots out of their nose, and sometimes with such great force that they're rocketed backwards through the sky.
What? I am learning so much today.
This doesn't happen in Fire Emblem games, but my point is, it's that kind of stuff that I see, and I can't stand it. Like, I want to see a good story, and they're out there. I'm not playing them, unfortunately. I think is really just my problem. I'm being lazy and not playing the better versions of these things. Like, I'm not going and playing Nier Automata. It's on my list. I'm planning on doing it this year, but I haven't played it, so I can't experience that great, Japanese-based RPG story. I'm playing stupid stuff like, Tales games, which are about as anime as it gets. But it doesn't have to be that way, and I just feel like a really great game is then ruined by that aesthetic. But it's one of my all-time favorites. But lately, the last couple of years, probably because of Celeste, but I've just been falling back in love with platformers. All kinds of platformers, and Metroidvanias especially are a huge, huge passion of mine. I love Hollow Knight. I love Super Metroid. These are games I live for. Ori and the Will-O-Wisps comes out in like 2 weeks, almost to the day, I think. And I can't wait. I'll be on vacation, so I won't get to play it right away, but I'll be playing it as soon as humanly possible.
Just tell Rachel to enjoy the beach by herself.
Yeah, you know what? I might.
I'll be in the room.
Who needs marriage?
Happy anniversary.
Who needs alimony, child support? Nothing. It's nothing. Right. Nothing compared to the joys of Ori and the Will-O-Wisps.
Yes. I still need to play Ori.
You do. Everybody should play Ori and the Will-O-Wisps. It's more platformer than anything. It's got some Metroidvania. It's got some weak combat. I hear the new one's got some great combat. So that's really exciting, that if they kept everything that was great and just beefed up the combat so it's more engaging and more enjoyable. I played that game on a keyboard. Like an idiot.
I don't know how you managed that.
I don't know how my hands still work. I don't know how I beat it that way, especially a couple levels that I'm sure if you've played it, the tree with the waterfall and the waters rise. It's crazy. I don't know how I beat that level using keyboard and mouse.
I would never attempt that. I mean, I played the beginning. I played like the first 15 minutes, but then I got distracted by something.
All right, I play my first-person shooters with a controller, and I play Ori on the because I'm an idiot.
That's because you're a gamer.
I am. I'm an amateur pro gamer.
Yeah.
All right. Let's, Jason, what is your favorite modern game? So that's basically anything from this gen, and let's go with the last one. And then what's your favorite retro game?
So when I was doing this, when I was thinking about this earlier today, I just confined myself to current gen when I thought about my favorite modern game. And I think for me, it's probably more tied to the experience of when I played that game than the actual game itself. But The Witcher 3 is probably my favorite current gen game because it kind of melds everything that I love about video games into one game. So you have the story driven, you've got the giant world to go explore, but I don't think it's overwhelming like it can be in some other games. You've got RPG elements, decision based missions where that will impact the ending. And then to top it all off, it was Memorial Day weekend. I think it was 2015.
If it was the year, yeah, it came out in 2015.
Okay. So whatever weekend it was, my brother had come down for that summer and I had a long weekend. I lived in Montreal at the time for work, and we just spent literally like 35 straight hours on the couch, passing that controller back and forth, drinking, and playing The Witcher 3. And it was incredible. It was totally uninterrupted. And in fact, I think it may have been my last totally uninterrupted, just marathon gaming session. And
That
maybe
sounds amazing.
Dishonored too. But anyway, that's kind of what made that to me, is that whole experience, tremendous game, and then like wrapped all together. I love it. And then for my favorite retro game of all time, this one's really easy. Super Mario World. That's like a no-brainer. I think I wonder with the advent of games like Celeste, if you could still say Super Mario World's the best platformer of all time. But I think
It
I'm
is,
still
dude.
comfortable saying that for right now. And I don't think there's anybody listening to this that hasn't played that game. But if you've never played the game, just stop what you're doing right now. Stop being stupid and go play that game. Because honestly, you can beat it in probably 3 hours. And it's an amazing game. It's one of my earliest gaming memories, which I know is something else we're going to get to, what we said we wanted to talk about, but maybe I'll just talk about it now. One of my earliest gaming memories is just playing that game with my stepdad at my uncle's house. It was just amazing. The first time I'd ever played the Super Nintendo was Super Mario World, and I don't know how people found all those secrets that are hidden in that game without the internet or a strategy guide.
We did, dude. I didn't find them all. But as a kid, you do, when back then at least, and not even back then, when you're a kid and you have the time and that single-minded, laser focus on whatever it is you're doing that you actually like,
Right.
'Cause I can't get my daughter to focus on anything that she doesn't like, but you just, things were a little bit different. Secrets can be far more obfuscated these days, and they can be like kind of this it's a cheat more than a secret.
Right. And you have to pay for it.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, exactly. But no, I know what you mean. They were still well hidden most of the time.
I have no idea. I'm gonna spoil this game because it came out 30 years ago. But at the first Ghost House, you can fly up to the top and then get that secret area where then you can get unlimited flowers and capes. And how did people find that out? How did people know how to do that? I mean, I know my dad and I we did not have a strategy guide. We just messed around in that game long enough to figure that out. It's insane. Anyway, the game blows my mind. It kind of turned me on. I think it made me a gamer. I think that is the game that made me a gamer. So favorite retro game is definitely Super Mario World.
Good choices. Okay. Both of them, Witcher and Super Mario World. I will say, friends, that I have not played The Witcher beyond White Orchard. I'm very sorry about that. I'm making amends. I'm trying to get through it this year. I just don't like it very much. But I watched The Witcher on Netflix, Jason, and it's really good. And I want more of it. And I'm not willing to wait for season 2 before I get more of it.
So you're going to play the game?
Yeah, I'm on my way to the Bloody Baron the last time I played, which was admittedly a month ago now. So the next time I have next time I'm in between a game.
You're not going to restart it, are you?
No. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm on baby mode. I'm just whatever they call this, story mode.
Did you get to the Bloody Baron yet? Have you talked to him at all?
I have not talked to him.
That is the mission that made me love that game, or
That's
the quest rather, whatever. It's insane.
Aborted baby or something like that.
Oh, no spoilers. But no, that's one where it was insane because you just pull the thread, follow the breadcrumbs, and then you're like, holy crap, they tied that all together. I thought I was out in the wilderness doing this just insane out there side quest, and then they just pulled it all back in, and it blew my mind. So I hope that you do go back to that at some point.
No, I certainly will. Like I said, it's gonna be a slow burn though. It's gonna be something I just chip away at, because I think that was my problem. You said it. I think you said that The Witcher 3's world was not overwhelming.
Well,
it absolutely is. It's one of the biggest, man.
Okay. So I guess I should have prefaced that by saying that my brother was determined to beat it before he left.
Sure.
And so we just critical pathed the whole game. And there was a point at which it was the last night he was there. there's a area where you go to toward the end where it's like, do not proceed if you're not at least this level. Are you sure you want to do this? It's going to be very hard, if not impossible. And I was like, Greg, let's just go grind like 3 more side quests. We can do this. And he's like, no, we got to beat this tonight. And he just pressed the button because he's the worst.
Yeah, I was just about to say he really is the worst.
So, and then the thing is we didn't even beat the game and he left. And then I had to try to beat it myself. I had to drop it to baby mode. I was very frustrated at him for that. But
you did it.
I did it because it had a story that I wanted to see the ending. And the thing that is kind of crappy though is I think that with that game, they really want you to kind of respect it. And so I feel like, and this is totally unconfirmed, my own theory, if you rush through the game, it gives you the crappiest ending. That's my theory. I think you have to take the time to do some of these other side things to get the better endings. So yeah, I got the crappiest ending.
I'm ignoring those markers where it's like, oh, just go kill this thing or open this chest or look at this shrine. I'm just gonna ignore 90% of those. But if I see a quest, I'll do it. And like I said, I'm not in a rush. I might finish this, whenever The Witcher 4 comes out in 20 something years, but I'll finish it eventually.
Okay. So what about you, Karch? What is your favorite modern game and what is your favorite retro game?
All right, so I wrote up a list of my top 100 favorite games of all time. I don't know, a few months ago.
Yeah.
And just to mess with you, I put Hollow Knight as number 1. And Hollow Knight's a great game. And depending on the day, and certainly when I just finished it, that was a great game. It's it is a 100% a top 5 game. That is true. But it's probably not my favorite modern game. My favorite modern game is God of War 2018.
Of course, yeah.
I had played God of War 2 with Robert and Kit. We just we took turns. It was one of those situations, and we probably beat that in a single weekend, hanging out and sleep over, that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
it was great. I never played the first one. I didn't have a PS2, and I didn't watch anybody play it. I didn't borrow it. I didn't rent it or anything like that. But you didn't need to play the first one to understand, I don't like the Greek gods, and Zeus wants me dead. Or I killed Zeus, but no, it took me back into the past, or whatever the heck happened. I don't remember the story.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
The combat was fun. It was hard. There were occasionally puzzles. Everybody knows this at this point. I never played 3. And yet, when they announced 4, or God of War 4, or God of War 2018, whatever you want to call it, when I watched that E3 presentation and Kratos comes out of the shadows and he's got that new voice and everything, I was like, wow, that is... I think I had just gotten my PS4, and so I was super excited. Like E3 came, I was like, what am I going to get to play on this thing now? Again, having my first major console having been broke for like 10 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited, and I was just like, man, I loved God of War 2. And I had played, at this point, in 2017 or 16, whenever it was announced, I had played God of War 1 with my grandmother of all people, but that's a story for a different time. And I was super excited. And every little bit I saw of it made me like it more and more. And man, I've never seen a game not get spoiled as much as God of War. Like, I've never seen such a well-kept secret. Like, yeah, there was some promotional materials, ads and stuff, and there were impressions, but everyone was really, really quiet about that game from a, what happens perspective. Obviously, everyone was singing its praises.
Yeah.
But I went into that game about as fresh as you can, aside from knowing what happened in the previous games, which isn't a huge deal to playing that one, and knowing that Kratos has a son. And it's in the North, the Nordic setting and all that. They were going to potentially see Odin and his ilk. But that game was amazing.
It really was.
Combat is, it's not perfect combat, but it is perfect for that game.
I think it's perfect combat, to be honest with you.
It might be. I will say that, but people will argue that. But
they can argue if they want.
They can. They'd be wrong.
Yeah,
but they can.
Because so sorry not to interrupt you, but I think for me, like the Souls games, they're just. I think the combat, I can intrinsically appreciate it, but it's too hard for me. I just can't. And then something like
very specific,
right? And then you go to kind of the other. I won't call it the other end of the spectrum, but I think I think it's trying to accomplish the same thing but dumb it down a little would be like The Force Awakens, which I haven't played, but I've heard impressions, I've seen combat, I've heard you talk about it. And I think that's maybe just a little too simplified. And so like God of War to me is that happy medium of like just hard enough, but you have to be very intentional. You cannot just play it like a hack and slash.
No, not the whole way through. But I will tell you, like, something I appreciated about it so much was, aside from the amazing story, the story is just the performances, especially, which elevate the story even in its weaker moments to just they're so good, they're so good. Oh, I love the themes. I love the dad theme. I'm a dad. I have an anger problem a lot of the time that I don't do a good job keeping in check. Like, sometimes I think Kratos is a better dad than me because he yells at his kids.
I mean, he is. He is a better... I mean, I didn't finish the game, but I think I've seen enough to know.
I know.
He's better than both of us.
But the thing about the combat is that, as different as it is, I can feel the through line. I can feel the lineage of the previous games in it. Corey Balrog, who worked on some, not all, of the previous games, he kept that in there. It's different. It's newer. It's better, but it's still there. And it's just as brutal as it always was, which was, a huge part of it. You've got those, like, I don't know what they call them in there in Doom. They're called glory kills when you smash their heads in, or you take a rock and you bash it against that and all that stuff. But, literally the only thing I can say is that I feel like the scope was a bit too small for the first game. I'm sure they'll ramp it up. You don't meet a lot of people or do a lot of things. You have a very specific goal and you spend the whole game doing that one specific
thing.
I'm
okay with that.
I am too. It worked out really well. It's like, it's not even a negative. It's just something I don't want to see happen again, I guess, is the best way I could put it. And then enemy variety. It was fine, but it wasn't great. And the bosses, there could have been more. And that's about it. Everything else about that game is 100% a 10 out of 10. Like,
I thought about just restarting it.
You need to,
because this is another one that Greg rushed me through, and I'm at a point now where when you came over last summer, we had to drop the difficulty all the way down to make any progress, and my weapons are so weak. I don't know how we got as far as we did on that difficulty setting, but I don't know that I can beat it from where my save is right now. So
I'm sure you could, but I've played it twice now, and here's how much I like it. I don't replay games anymore. It's very rare that I replay games anymore. I played it again last year on New Game Plus.
I feel like you're lying.
What?
That you don't replay games.
I don't replay games.
You told me you were going to restart Fire Emblem this week.
That's different because I haven't beat it. Okay, but I didn't want to pick up in the middle because I had ruined all my characters. That's different, man. It's different.
Okay, what about Kingdom Hearts? Because you said you were going to replay that for the DLC, the Kingdom Hearts 3.
But I didn't.
Okay.
That was full of hot air. But
okay,
next year,
anyway, go ahead. That's how much you like God of War.
I'm going to play through every Kingdom Hearts game in release order starting January 2021. So stay tuned for that because it's going to be fun.
Why? Wait, are you going to buy like the collection or whatever?
I have nearly some version of every game. Like, I could find a way to play it without having to go get it.
You're going to stream it on Twitch?
No, that would take forever because I would never have time to get around to it. I'd have to play no, that's impossible. It would literally take me all year and I would play nothing else. That's never happening. Anyway, God of War, amazing game. I played it twice. I have to stop myself from playing it a third time. That's how much I like it. Favorite retro game? I didn't think about this one. I love a lot of retro games. Retro being basically, I guess, anything from the SNES days and earlier. Probably Super Mario World. It's so good. I used to think it was Link to the Past. I replayed that, or I actually finished that for the first time last year or the year before, whenever the Super Nintendo games came to the Nintendo Switch Online.
Right.
It was fine. Like, I didn't love it as much as I thought I did. It's definitely pretty low on my list of favorite Zelda games at this point compared to the newer 3D ones. Like, there's like 4 other 3D ones in front of it, I think, at this point. But guess what I didn't hate when I played through it again? Not hate, but guess what I still love just as much? Super Mario World. Guess who loves Super Mario World in my family? My wife and my daughter. And we can all play together. And it's timeless. And it's so good looking. It still looks so good. And you said something akin to, like, you're not sure if you can still call it like one of the best platformers with things like Celeste and I would throw Messenger in there and Super Meat Boy, which I've never played, but always gets brought up, so I'll bring it up too.
Yeah.
But maybe those games have surpassed them mechanically, and not just because they're more complicated, but because the design is just more ahead. But as a complete package, Super Mario World has them beat without a doubt. Like, it's from an aesthetic standpoint, from the little world map standpoint, from the characters, as like insignificant as they are to the story, as little story as there is, you just love blowing up that castle with a little hopping Yoshi egg.
Yeah.
And then you beat the game. And again, spoilers, 30 years old game, and all the little Yoshis have hatched and they're just following you through in your little victory march through the carnage that you've made throughout the entire of Dinosaur. And that's the other thing. It's Dinosaur Land. What the heck is Dinosaur Land? That's not the Mushroom Kingdom, but it's so good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And again, the secrets that are in that game, Star World, like just the shortcuts, the cut-throughs.
What is it? The special world, the final thing. You unlock everything, and you go to that, and those are those levels suck. Those aren't.
I never beat all of them. I think I got to like S, P, E, maybe C. I don't know, but
I beat this game 100% way back when the on the Game Boy Advance port. I just that was the first time I really played. I mean, I played through it before. I never owned my own Super Nintendo until I was like 19. But I played through the whole thing and beat it and got the weird, goofy fall world where everything's got pumpkin heads and stuff.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you're playing a port of that game where Luigi has the floaty jump, I really dislike that.
That is one of those, and it does suck. I don't like that.
Get that out of here.
He looks like tall Luigi, which I don't mind. And almost, like, it's fine. Luigi looks different, but my memories of that game are still so tied to Luigi just being a green and purple Mario instead of the red and blue Mario.
Yeah, right.
And I like it. I like it like that better. It's to say I won't play newer versions of Super Mario Brothers 3 because I hate the newer art styles. Awful. I like the really just those old NES colors. They're so good.
I totally agree.
All right. I think we will hold the questions because we had a bunch more, but we kept talking and talking.
Yeah.
So we'll hold those for next time. We've got lots more episodes to record, and we've got lots more questions to ask each other. And
sure,
you know by next time that people are gonna send in all their hate mail, all their love mail to.
I hope so.
neverfreetoplay@gmail.com for all their questions and concerns. And
it'd be so cool to have corrections.
It would be so cool to have corrections because let's see, it's been an hour and 34 minutes almost, and I'm sure an hour and 30 of those were wrong.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I do want to say, I want to give a shout out. We're going to do a segment at the end here on every episode where we say why Greg is the worst. Greg is the worst this week because he said he was going to make our theme song and then he didn't. And that's why we didn't have a theme song and you had to listen to Karch sing. And if he doesn't do it again next week, you're going to have to listen to one of us sing again. So that's why Greg's the worst this week. But I think he is going to be mixing this episode. So thank you, Greg, for that. But you're still the worst.
And if you don't like the way it sounds, you know whose fault it is.
Yeah, it's definitely not my fault. I'm sitting in my closet. This is probably, honestly, right now, it's the best I can do for sound treatment. So sorry, everybody.
We do what we can with what we have.
Yeah. So neverfreetoplay.com. You can find our Patreon by going to that website. Neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Write in with your questions, comments, concerns, corrections. And then you can also like us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Find us on Instagram. But if there's any news to be had, we'll make sure that it gets up on all those platforms.
Especially Patreon. Go there first.
Yeah, go there first. Throw us a buck. You don't get anything for it, but throw us a buck.
Do it.
It's $1.
Just do it, man.
Yeah.
Or lady.
That was really creepy. I'm going to end it there. Man. I'm not cutting that out.
Don't cut this out. Don't cut the next 40 minutes.
Great. Let's just sleep to get together via chat.
Just like low breathing, a little wheezing, a little snoring. Yeah, that's right. That's good.
It's turning into a sleep podcast. There are sleep podcasts. There are ones out there. I think.
What is a sleep podcast?
It's like one that helps you sleep. I think there's one called like "Sleep with Me" or something like that.
I can't relate to that because I think I've had trouble sleeping in my life where I wasn't sick. Maybe 3 times. Like, and those were probably all just caffeine induced. I drank too much coffee too late, and then I woke up at like 2. Like I always fell asleep, but I'd wake up at 2. And then for some reason, just be wide awake. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, it's the caffeine. It's kicked in.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Well, man, I'm going to take a pass at editing this tonight. I really, honestly, once we got rolling, there wasn't much to edit out.
No, it was a lot better.
So I might just start it at that like 5-minute segment and then make sure I cut the right cut for us talking about streaming and then just let it go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the edit notes that we're putting on the tail end of this podcast. They probably just stopped. Our analytics are going to show a drop off for sure.
We have analytics?
We don't yet, but I think we will.
If our analytics show that anybody listened to even 10 minutes of this, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah, that's true.
Again,
our moms are going to do it.
It's got no, exactly, because it's got to be 3 people because we have to subtract 2 for our mothers. Because
they're not going to listen to it all.
They're not going to listen to it. My mom literally, when I told her we were doing this, mom's like, I've never listened to a podcast. My mom's she's not that lady, but for some reason, she's never listened to a podcast. She knows how to use a computer. She knows how to use a phone. Right. She likes things. Ergo, you think she would have found one at this point.
You should have her listen to Serial. That's a really good one.
Serial?
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh my God, Karch. You're oh my God. You're making a podcast and you don't know what Serial is.
I don't. I mean,
you've never heard of the Adnan Syed case?
No.
There's an HBO show about it.
I don't have HBO.
But do you have the internet?
Home box office.
Good Lord.
I do have the internet.
Okay, well, we could talk about it offline, but it's pretty much, in my opinion, and this could be wrong, but my perception of reality is that Serial made podcasts as big as they are today because I really think it fundamentally changed the platform and made it explode because people saw what you could do from a narrative standpoint on pod. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there were other ones out there, but I feel like for a lot of people, Serial popularized podcasts as a platform. And it was a true crime podcast. This journalist in Maryland, there was a high schooler who was like convicted of killing his girlfriend, but it was kind of a shaky trial on in terms of the evidence. You just have to listen to it. I don't know. Go listen to, what are you doing even making a podcast? Just go listen to Serial, Karch.
You got it. You can go ahead and find someone else to do this with you, and I'll go with you.
All right, man. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can just chat.
Wait, here. Let me do something real quick. For we need some outro music to match the intro music.
Oh, yeah. That's the outro?
That's the outro.
Okay.